Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Cinema.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at our top 10 Euro games with dice.
Dice? Are you saying we're gonna talk about roll and moves?
Yeah.
No, we're not, because these are good games. We don't usually enjoy randomness or luck in games.
Yes.
But also, dice games are some of my favorite games. Games that have dice in them. So these are going to be 10 Euro games that we think uses dice in a great way. I'm going to talk for myself basically because we haven't made these lists together, which is we like that because we don't know each other's list. So I am actually very interested for this list to see how many crossovers there's going to be.
Yeah.
Because some lists I'm going to know, oh, this is going to be a lot of crossovers. This one I think there might be a few because when I was looking for games, I was finding, of course, there's a lot of games that has dice in it, but the games I chose were like 30, 35 games. They're still down to this 10. How did you manage to find the games? Maybe you used...
I use Board Game Geek,
Yes.
but some of the games, this is like a genre
Yes.
that is a little hard to find on Board Game Geek because there were games that I thought about being contenders for this list that didn't have the dice mechanisms that I was searching for, so I suddenly didn't find them.
Okay.
But I suddenly find some other things that I forgot that existed. So
Maybe I forgot some then because I used dice rolling, dice as worker placement, and dice drafting. Those I think were the mechanisms.
yeah,
I
and
used.
there's also a thing that is just dice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of the games that I looked at had, like, for example, drafting, but they didn't specify dice.
Okay.
For example.
Hopefully I haven't missed some very big ones. It does happen from time to time that because we use BGG, I don't remember all the games that exist in everywhere. All the games I like, I don't remember all of them, but we have tried to make a fun top 10 list. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I just want to say that
Do it!
For my games, I've picked games where dice is a big part of the game,
Yes.
that it has a central role in the game, and also the number one might not be my favorite. Like, I might like some other games better, but I think it utilizes dice in a great way. So I've thought about the way that it uses it as well.
Interesting. For me, it's kind of like I think my favorite is on top because it's a top 10, and also, but it's I understand you can do it both ways.
Okay.
But also that most of the time it's been I enjoyed the way that dice is used, and also I enjoy the game. It's not only I really hate the game, but it has a nice dice mechanism that is not on the list. And we have not, of course, excluded games like, for example, I love A Feast for Odin, and it has a die. Maybe it actually has 2.
Yeah, I think it has different for what kind of hunt you do.
But I'm not it has a very nice dice mechanism where you roll a die and you hope to get a high number or a low number, depending on what you do. It's my favorite, but that's not going to be on the list. It's going to be, for me as well, where dice is an integral part of the game. Enough ramblings, enough things. It's going to be interesting to see how, because I love it. We don't, when we make lists, we don't go ahead and be these are the rules for it. We just look at the list, the name. So let's see how we did them differently this time. Let's start with number 10. You can begin because that's how the rules are.
My number 10 is Teotihuacan, the City of Gods, and I think this utilizes dice in a way that I haven't seen before or after. It's very unique because your dice are your workers. That's not that unique anymore. But you're moving around kind of on a rondel with different actions, and your workers age when they do stuff. So the pips get higher and higher, and the older they are, the more experience they have, and they do their actions better. So when you top your die, for example, it becomes a 6, then it dies. It's a very sad game. And then you
Did
have
you
to...
not get the pun you just made? The die dies.
I didn't. Yes, it was very unintentional, but fun. And then you get back to a 1 again, and then you have to work your way up to getting to do better actions. So it's very interesting, the timing of when to use the different actions to have enough pips to do the things that you want to at the right time. I have a little of ambivalent relationship to this game because some things other than the dice that I'm not that keen on in the game, but like the dice element of Teotihuacan is amazing.
I agree. My number 10 is going to be a game where you just roll dice and you have them and then you have to add them together in different ways. It's kind of a game where it's not that much of like this is a really cool dice mechanism, but the game would have been less interesting with dice, and the game is Rajas of the Ganges, which is one of my favorite medium style Euro games where it is very smooth and so cool all the way through. It's a worker placement game, but most of the actions you place a worker, and it also has to use one or more dice to do the action. And you need colors, you need the numbers, you want to add them together to get better buildings. All of this makes it a very smooth and nice way to use dice. There's some luck in the rolling, but there is abilities that you can use to flip them around, to add pips and subtract pips, all that which you need basically in a good Euro with dice. And that is why it is my number 10.
My number 9 is Troyes. And this, when we played it, was a whole new world
whole new world
how to use dice.
Of how to use your dice in games.
Yeah, for me at least.
For me at least it was.
Because you don't have your own dice. You you have a pool of dice, and some are in your area, so they are cheaper for you to use.
Free.
Or free, actually.
And they feel like your dice, but they're not.
Yeah, I really connect with my dice, and it's really painful when other people take them. But if I roll something that's not good for me, or I have the colors that you have and the amount of dice, it depends on where you have the dudes on the board. And when people take your dice, you can get sad, but that also means that you have the opportunities to use other people's dice. And it's a cool thing because it kind of it mitigates the result of a bad roll, for example.
Absolutely.
And that was so unique, and it's still to this day a very unique way to use dice in games, and a lot, like every single action revolves around those dice. Are very, very important, and that's why it's my number 9.
My number 9 has one of the most unique dice mechanisms I've ever seen, and it's Woodcraft. Woodcraft has a mechanism where you will split dice into 2. You will take 2 dice of different colors or the same color and glue them together. You will take them apart, you will put them together, and it's basically wood. And it's so clever because if I have a 3 die and I cut it into 2, it's going to be a 1 and a 2. So it's like it makes so much sense to use dice for this mechanism, and I haven't seen it done in this way before. The game is also a lot of fun. We really like Woodcraft, but that dice mechanism at the core of it is what makes it so unique and different, and also of course what makes it adding on this list, because if there was no dice it would not be on the list. That is my number 9.
My number 8 is Bora Bora, and this is a game where you roll dice, and those are your like action your workers basically, and you choose dice with them and actions with them. And the number on the dice corresponds to like 2 things. One is how well the action is going to be. So if I go there with a 6, I get to do a really cool actions. I have a lot of things to choose from, for example, or I get to do a trade multiple times, for example. But you can only put it there on a space that has like, you have to have a lower number than what is there before. So if I have a 6 and you already have blocked a space with a 3, I can't go there. So it's both good to roll low numbers because you're then blocking others and you're sure to get those spaces for yourself, but it's also really good to roll high numbers. And there are ways to mitigate, but those are hard. So this is really a game of trying to do the most important thing first. And it's a punishing game, I would say, because it's a game that rewards the perfect play. So if you get to do like one aspect of the game perfectly, you might get 12 points. If you're 1 off, 0.
Yes, there is a new version which is a bit nicer, but we like Bora Bora better for all the reasons. We spoke about that other one as well. My number 8 is going to be 2 games. but they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's La Granja and El Burro.
Cool.
Because they're the same, but they're not the same.
Yes.
Like, it's the same system, but 2 different games. I love them both. We have them both. I think we're going to keep them both because we have Deluxe Master Set of La Granja with all the modules and stuff, which makes them feel like 2 very different games. But it is a kind of basic dice draft in it. So, like, the dice mechanism is not like, oh, it's a revolutionary, but the games are fantastic, and this is a top list. So, the dice, it is a drafting, but when I draft a die, after everyone drafted the die, there's going to be a die left, and everybody gets to do the action of that die. So, it's kind of like it's a twist on it's not just drafting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also would like to point out that the dice corresponds to another bonus.
Yes.
So you don't only get the dice, you get the bonus as well, which I feel like you don't see that often in games, so that is kind of unique.
And the game is just fun. Like both La Granja and El Burro, we have done content for both of them, are amazing games.
Yes.
You are running a farm, so you have a farm board, you're playing different cards, they're multi-use cards as well. So if we did like a multi-use card list, it would probably be on the list as well. If you want to see that, let us know. I like multi-use cards, it's a great mechanism. But it has multi-use cards that you play in different parts of your farm to upgrade your farm. You're trying to be an efficient farmer, getting the resources out to the market if you're playing La Granja, or on the big route if you're playing El Burro. And everything is great, everything is fantastic, and that is why it's on my list. I am speaking till you get your list back.
My number 7 is a crossover. It's Rajas of the Ganges.
We have
to do a little crossover dance.
We have to do it. We're dancing, crossing over. Dance, it's done.
Rajas of the Ganges is like the perfect mid-weight, not brain-burning game. It's like a category if you're
tired.
If you had a long day at school or work, you're coming home, I could probably still play Rajas of the Ganges, and it has a lot of play in like a short amount of time. I love the race feeling, but you're trying to be the first to get like these 2 points tracks basically to meet. What I think is unique about the dice in Rajas of the Ganges is that's the first time I've seen dice kind of used as a resource.
Yeah.
Because it's as you said, you used to write numbers and colors to do the specific things, so it feels like a resource in that game.
My next one is going to be a more not that well-known game called Signori. This is a game that, from What's Your Game, that we really enjoyed or play some. It has a weird theme of marrying off your daughters and stuff like that. It's an old school theme, but it's like a historical theme. But you are drafting dice, and in this one, you are going to draft one of each color die, so you know you're going to get one of each color.
Except for one.
Except for one. But the numbers also matter because you don't want to reach over this specific number because every round there's going to be a bonus that you get if you don't go over this number. So it's always that, okay, I want to have to manage to take these actions and the numbers matters, but I also want to manage to get the things I want, not get that, because most of the time that bonus is really good. So you have that extra layer of drafting. And also it has a lot of other things I like in games. For example, you build up your own actions so you can upgrade the actions. So when you do the actions, they're going to get better. And it's more you doing Euro stuff, basically. So it's not that it's one of those, oh, it's so unique of a game, you're doing Euro stuff. But it's a fun, great experience. And the drafting is very interesting.
Which number is it now?
I don't know. 6.
I think. Yes, my number 6 is Saltfjord.
Okay.
Or Saltfjord. And this is a dice drafting game, and the dice in this particular one, this is like the new version of Santa Maria.
Yes.
You have like a common pool of dice that you're both drafting from. You will get like, there are 2 colored dice, so you know that some of those dice you're going to, those 2 categories.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little more predictable what you're gonna get. And you're using those dice to activate rows or column on your player board. And depending on what you've built on your player board, you will do actions. So you could, for example, have a strategy where you want these specific numbers and activate those rows, make those super powerful and activate those a lot of times. Or you could build a little like scattered, and so you are okay with whatever dice comes up. And it's really interesting because when you're activating a row or column, that dice takes up a space on the last destination that it reaches. So the the order that you do it is also quite important, because if I place there, it takes up that space, and if I activate the column, then I won't get that bonus anymore. And the game is fun in general.
It is a great game. It is new from this year, but we also liked Santa Maria from before. It was almost on my list, but just didn't make it. My next one is going to be Tekhenu, Obelisk of the Sun. This is one that's been too long since we played, but one that I really, really remember fondly, with great memories of fun and dice drafting. This one has an obelisk that moves around, so it's going to be some dice are always going to be illegal dice. No, you can't take them in the shade. I don't like the shade. I'm like a reversed vampire. I only like to be in the sun.
Reversed vampire.
Yes, I can't be in the shadows, only in the sun, or I will die. You are drafting those dice, and that is one thing that you cannot take the ones that are illegal if you don't have special abilities, but you also want to balance these scales. When you draft the dice, you want to do this and that so that you are balancing scales. I always like dice drafting when there's like a different reason for doing it.
Yes.
Like it's not only, oh, I want that die.
Yeah.
It's also, I want that die because I want to do the action, but also I wanted to place it there so that it works in my other strategy. That is like the crux of the game. The game is one of those games where you have that system and a lot of mini games.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like getting to be a big game category.
Yeah.
Like games with mini games.
We could make that top list
That would
as
be
well.
a very weird one.
Yeah.
It started with like a Trajan.
Yes.
But it makes everything work, that dice mechanism, and that is why I like it.
It's a great game. It was almost on my list
Dun,
as
dun,
well.
dun.
My number 5 is Pulsar 2849. And this has been a long time since we played it.
Yes.
So I need help explaining this game. I know you know it by heart.
You are drafting dice, and depending on where you draft a die from, you're going to move on these tracks. That is going to both give you bonuses, but also going to be the turn order. So you're basically moving back and forth on these dice. And it's all depending on the median of the dice that you roll, which is pretty cool. So it's going to be, like I said, if there's a lot of high numbers, it's going to be better to, or easier to take the high numbers than if there's a lot of lower numbers, because you're going to get negative things then. And you're doing so many things with these dice. This is a fantastic Vladimir Suchy games. Might be his best one, or one of his best ones.
One of his best ones.
And you are running around space, not running, driving in a spaceship. Driving in a spaceship around in space. You're trying to place these spinning things that gives you points each round.
I don't remember what they call it.
Theme, a gyro thing.
Oh yeah.
And you're also,
gyro.
I'm pointing over there. That's kind of weird because that is where those things are when we play the game.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
it's like, because that's the upgrade. Over
Yes.
there, the upgrades are. So you are, this tech tree what you're building up, there's a lot of interaction with that because you are trying to, somebody takes it just before you, it's going to lose you a lot of points. Really, really good game.
Yeah, I really like the dice drafting, as you said, because of the changing with the median, and also how you actually use your dice, because you want to do so much and you don't feel like you have so little.
Yes.
So the dice that you get has a lot. It means a lot. It means a lot to me. Yes. Okay.
My number 4 is going to be a crossover. It's going to be Bora Bora. Crossover time.
Crossover.
We're crossing over. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom. Okay. Yes. Bora Bora is a fantastic game for all the reasons you said. It's one of those where you are just rolling, and there's not that many ways to mitigate. There's some dice and stuff, or some cards, but you are doing the best with what you can. And sometimes you're going to be like, as you said, the high numbers are great, but the low numbers could be good for also blocking, and you know you get to do the action that you want to do, and everything you do is fun. And as I said, you have to focus on getting perfectly done with different categories. So you have to go high or heavy into one direction to be able to do the things you want to do.
You have to like One Direction.
You have to do that.
In this game.
And then we're into the top 3.
No.
Yes.
Are we?
I think so. Top 3.
We're not.
Okay.
This is number 4.
Okay.
I was just like, what are you talking about?
Number 4.
My number 4
You're right.
is another dice drafting game. This is Grand Austria Hotel. This is a game that we usually play with just 2 players.
2 people.
Because it has a snake draft.
It does.
And in this game, you roll dice. Those are the ones available. And depending on because each number corresponds to an action.
Yes.
So if there are 3 ones, there like 2 things is true. There's
3 ones. That is true.
both the action is available to take 3 times.
Yes.
And how good it is.
Yes.
That's the other
The first time you take it, it's 3 good. The second you take it, it's 2 good, and then it's 1 good.
But I think it's so unique because there is a lot of games where you are, I don't know, maybe it's not. But there are games.
There are games.
With dice corresponding to which action, or like the pips of the die telling you how good an action is.
Yes.
But it's cool that it corresponds to both of them at the same time.
Yes, like you said.
Yes.
I agree. My number 4, it wasn't number 3, it was number 4. It's going to be a crossover. It's going to be Pulsar 2849.
Cool.
For all the reasons we did. 1,
Crossover.
2, 3. Boom, boom. For all the reasons I just said. Because it is a fantastic game and I want to play it because it is so much fun. And now,
really good.
for real, the top 3 games of this list. What can they be? There will be games. You will now know.
My number 3 is a crossover.
Okay.
It is Woodcraft.
Yay!
Crossover.
Crossover.
Boom,
Boom.
boom,
Boom.
boom, boom.
Very small crossovers in this video.
Like this crossover.
A dabbing crossover.
Yeah, I agree. It is like it's an amazing way to use dice because of it's so creative with the wood, and also like in Rogers of the Ganges, I feel like this is another game where dice is a resource.
Yeah.
And I think it's also cool that you can plant your dice and they get stronger.
It's
for
a
each
tree
round.
basically that you're planting, but you
fun.
don't know the theme of the game, so you just think it's a die.
I said plant it.
Yes, plant the die.
You put the die on a tile and it magically gets
When you move it around.
Yes.
My number 3 is going to be a crossover. It's going to be Troyes. Troyes is, as you said, one of those games where I love the thing. Where I have these dice, they're mine, but they're not mine. And when you play this game, it feels very brutal if you think they're yours.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to play this game, they're not yours. They're just free for you. And other people have to pay to use them. So, and you can't stop them from doing that. So never think that anything is safe in this game and you will have a blast. I love everything about this game. I could play this all the time. And I would like to, but I can't because we have a YouTube channel. And now, number 2.
My number 2 is the White Castle.
Okay.
And this is also a dice drafting game. And I love this because I love when both they're not your dice.
Yes.
So no matter what's get rolled, it's lucky or unlucky for everyone, kind of.
Yeah.
And also, it's different reasons why you want different dice. So for example, a high number is really good because then you don't need to pay, for example, to do the actions. You get money back,
Money
for
is
example.
good.
But suddenly a 1 is better. I don't know, when is a 1 better?
I don't think it's ever is a better.
No, I don't know.
You're just making that up.
Well, if you take the lower number, you get the lantern action.
Yes.
Last time we played with the expansion,
yeah.
and I had a lot of cards at the lantern bonus. I got a lot of stuff when I think that's why
You thought the 1 was good.
The 1 was really good.
It's a great game.
It's a great
It didn't
game.
end up on my list, but it ended up like somewhere in the 10s. So my number 2 is going to be another crossover. It's going to be Grand Austria Hotel.
Cool.
Crossover time. 1, 2, 3. Boom! I went the other way.
You tricked
It is
me.
a fantastic game. One of my all-time favorite games. I love the drafting of it. I love the fantastic garbage bin that you put the dice on if you discard it. It's the best part of the game. It is one of those games which I only want to play it with 2 and I only want to play it with you because we know it so well.
Aww.
So it's going to be like super quick and we're going to have a lot of depth in it. I would like to explore the expansion more.
Yes.
Because the things we have explored from that has been really good. And now it's time for the number 1. Number one game that has dice in it. What can it be? You can begin.
My number 1 is also a crossover. We have a lot of crossovers this list. It is Signori, which you already talked about. And I'm just saying it with a question mark behind it.
Yes.
It isn't. It's Signori.
It's not?
Exclamation point.
Okay.
But it like I had a point when you talked about it just now, and I was thinking I'm gonna save that for later.
Yes, and
I
now you forgot it.
Well, yes, I think it is that. Yeah, it's kind of the same as in the White Castle. That if you take higher dice, you pay less for your actions. But you might exceed the target number for the bonus that you're trying to get. So then you want lower numbers, but then you have to pay more. And you upgrade the actions. That's what I said. Cool.
My number 1.
Explanation.
I think next time we make our list, we need to be sure that we have the same reason to make it. Because this was supposed to be top 10. Dice games that has dice in it. So it's kind of weird that you don't have your favorite game of all time on the list because it has dice in it and it is a Euro game.
Yeah, but it's not that unique that you roll dice.
Yes, but this is not the most unique games with dice. It's
and
the top 10 Euro games with dice. So my number one is obviously going to be the Cost of Burgundy, which is the only number one there could be.
Oh, that's why you looked at me so confused.
Yes, because this is the top 10 Euro games that has dice in it.
Okay.
So my number one is going to be the Castles of Burgundy because it is the top one game that is a Euro game that has dice in it. And it is also a very good game. It's actually Sunniva's number one. You wouldn't know because it's not on her favorite games with has dice in it. So I'm just going to say that this is a fantastic game. Yes. And I think Sunniva still likes it. And I think it's great.
Okay, I think it's great, absolutely. And I think that
Two questions.
Might be...
Two questions.
Yeah.
Is it a Euro game?
It is.
Does it have dice in it?
No. Well, it has. But I'm like... I feel boring because Castles of Burgundy is on every single one of my lists.
It wouldn't be on the worker placement list. It wouldn't be on the multi-use cards list. True. It wouldn't be on like most of the lists.
I feel like it's everywhere. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to include it now because the other games, okay, they're not better. But they have more unique ways to use dice. Yes. But yeah, my top 11 is now...
So your number
everything.
Star. Your
number star
is the Castles of Burgundy.
I want to highlight a game before we're done.
Okay.
That almost made my top 10 but didn't. That is... What is it called again?
This is a great ending to the video.
Sorry, I blanked on the name. It's the Magnificent.
Okay.
Because that is also really cool. You're drafting dice and you like put the numbers of the colors together to make a stronger action. That's also the thing that I don't see a lot.
So you had 12 games on your top 10. I only had 11. That's going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun as always, and you should subscribe because you will get more videos like this where we kind of talk about our favorite games. And this is going to be the end. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunniva.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.